Howdy folks, I'm Dan Gross, and welcome to this brand new episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight, Rochester's premier music and interview show. This episode is brought to you by Bernunzio Uptown Music. Located in Rochester's East End, they've been providing Rochester and the world with quality vintage, new, and used string instruments since 1976. Bernunzio also offers concerts, workshops, and jam sessions. This season we're in this warm, local, and creative space, Bop Shop Records. Located right outside the city at 1460 Monroe Avenue, Bop Shop Records is your Rochester home for blues, classic rock, jazz, and Americana in vinyl for the past 35 years. Joining me today is Susanna Rose. We are very pleased to have her on. We've been looking forward to this visit for a long time, and we finally made it work. Armed with her voice, guitar, and her signature red-rimmed glasses, she weaves melancholy tales that draw on life in Rochester's cold weather. To that end, her latest release, Snowbound, was met with much acclaim, and she's releasing a new record, The Wishing Well. She's having a nice release party Saturday, April 29th at Small World Books. Susanna, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
I really want to start from the beginning. When did you first start writing poetry? Because your approach is kind of writing the poetry first, right?
Sort of. Yeah, like sometimes I'll have like a line that I want to make into a song, and I'll pick some chords and put it together. Or I might start with playing some music and a melody, so it can go either way. Mm-hmm. But I started writing when I was a kid. I was always like the nerdy kid that read a lot of books and wrote things. Yeah. And I always was singing to myself too, but I didn't have the technology. Like I didn't have a cell phone where I could record what I was singing or creating, mm-hmm. and I didn't have the technical knowledge to notate what I was doing, so I was always sort of writing songs, but I had no way to
codify
save them. Yeah. So I guess when I was a kid is when that started.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You were reading a lot and writing a lot. So who are some of your literary influences that led to some of the stuff you're writing today?
Wow, well, I was an English major at Geneseo, mm-hmm. so I read a lot. I really loved the Victorian lit, British lit, mm-hmm. Like 19th century novels were my thing for a while. Poetry. I've gotten into a lot of different stuff. I've just read a lot. So all of that sort of meshes. You process everything that you take in, and then it comes out in your art. Mm-hmm. So. And
when you were doing the music side of it, the singing and playing, did you ever take any formal lessons at all, or is this all self-taught?
I took piano lessons from when I was like 7 until 12, mm-hmm. but I never practiced, and so sort of a waste of money for my parents, but I learned a little bit. I learned like just enough, and I also didn't like reading music, so that was what held me back from really getting into that, because I couldn't stand looking at a page and trying to figure out what notes corresponded. I just didn't like that. I like to play by ear. Mm-hmm. So that's why when I learned guitar in college, everything changed for me, because I didn't have to read notes on a page. I could just play chords and sing. Yeah. So.
But were you developing a point? Because I'm sure you'd written the literature, the poetry, mm-hmm. and you were still sort of working through the music. What was that kind of early process like when you're sort of discovering what you're doing now? I'm sure you didn't sound like this when you first started. You didn't have a clear idea of what you were doing.
Well, so a friend taught me to play guitar when I was studying abroad in London mm-hmm. in 2009, and he was a singer-songwriter, and he was amazing. And I was like, how do you do what you do? And he was like, there are thousands of songs written with the same 3 chords. Mm-hmm. So he was like, just learn a few chords and then write some words that rhyme, and then you can have a song. So I had only played guitar like 6 months, and I started writing like pretty much right away. Like with the first 3 chords I knew, I wrote songs. Like that was just how I approached it.
And was it sort of the dream folky thing you do now? Was early Susanna Rose exploring something different?
Well, so the album I'm releasing in April actually is my first songs that I wrote for guitar, The Wishing Well. So mm-hmm. I wrote those. Some were written back in London when I was just learning, and some were written the year after when I came back to Rochester. Mm-hmm. So The Wishing Well is the first album, like the first songs that I wrote.
And how is that different maybe from what most of us have been hearing when we see you out performing?
Like the Snowbound. Mm-hmm. They're a different vibe. I don't know. It's you sort of have to hear it, but they're shorter mm-hmm. and they all sort of go together, and they're all from a certain time in my life. And so I think if you listen to the 2 albums, you can definitely hear the difference, but mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you exactly what the difference is.
Yeah. Just sort of something to feel.
Well, there is a difference. Yeah, I can probably think about it more and come up with it.
It's palpable. There's something there. Did you ever have an aha moment when you realized, oh, what I'm doing works and I like it and other people like it too? Did you ever have one of those moments, or is this all sort of gradual and organic?
Yeah, well, it was like a sort of organic process of like learning guitar in London and then starting to write my own songs. And I think I worked up the courage to play one song I had written for my friend there. And he was like, that's great. And I was like, it is? Wow, cool. Maybe I'll keep doing this.
Yeah.
And then when I got back to Rochester, I met Tim Avery at a Christmas party. He's awesome. He's so helpful to local musicians. He's all over the music scene here. So he just offered to record my first songs at his house. He barely knew me. He was just like, oh, you have songs that you've written? Let's record them, which was so kind of him. So really the support of the musicians and the local music scene in Rochester that I met when I came back from London made a huge difference to me and inspired me to keep going with it.
Do you draw from any local influences at all? What's your process when you first, now that you've been doing this for a little bit and you have a better sense of the sound you're going for and what your capabilities are, what's your process of writing new material?
It's so hard to say, like, the process. I don't know. It's a process that things happen. And there's lots of notebooks, and there's writing. There's just writing, like, little journal entries or thoughts, and then there's playing, and then sometimes it all comes together and a song comes out of it. That's the process.
I mean, I would have to do it much differently if I were to do a process myself. So I don't want to be too technical here, but I think in particular with Snowbound, and that received so much local acclaim. You had a story written about you in the album in the DNC. A lot of people were proclaiming it as just such a great album, and it is. It's totally deserved.
It got reviewed in the UK in some print.
No kidding.
Yeah, and it got played on BBC stations in the UK and college stations here so yeah, it got out further than just locally, which was cool.
So why don't you just tell us about that? I mean, because this blew up pretty significantly. Then what was it like for you having all this attention on your work all of a sudden?
Well, I wouldn't say it blew up. I mean, I got it out there. Yeah. You know, it takes a lot of effort to promote your music and get it out there. And so I read a book about. I read a couple books about like how to be an independent musician and promoting your music. So I just did what the book said. Yeah.
And it seemed to work for it.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about Snowbound a little bit more before we get more into the Wishing Well. You do such a good job of sort of capturing this atmospheric sort of wintry sound, especially both in your guitar playing and your note choices in the melody. Is there I know you don't write down your music, but is there like any sort of way that you codify, like, oh, doing this sort of half step here sounds like you just
I don't think about half steps, whole steps, theory, thirds, fifths. I don't want to go near that.
Yeah.
Which would probably help me if I did, but it just makes me feel anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just easier to
I just do what I like, and it's what I like to hear, and it's fun.
Yeah. So now for the Wishing Well, all of the recording is done at this point. You're just doing the legwork to get it out there. So you recorded your first record, you recorded Snowbound at 1809. Correct? Now are you with them again for Wishing Well?
Yeah, I did Wishing Well at 1809 with Dave last summer, and I actually have 8 new songs, and I want to record another one with him this summer. So I'm thinking of them all as like it's sort of like a trilogy. Once I have all 3, and then maybe I'll move on and do something completely different. I don't know.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Susanna. You can see her live at her CD release party for the Wishing Well on, let me get this right, Saturday, April 29th at Small World. If it is, you can also purchase her previous release, Snowbound, on Bandcamp. I am Dan Gross. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight, and we'll see you again soon.
I'm so tired when I get home every day that it's all I can do not to sleep right away. to make friends with the loneliness. Now you're gone. Oh, you didn't love me back. And I kiss me once.